Dr. Jacob Weasel had a goal to inspire youth, and he achieved it by making history. This Lakota surgeon is the first Native American ever believed to summit Mount Everest, and he did it for a cause. He created the nonprofit called the Wopila Project in order to raise money on his expedition to build a playground for Lakota kids in Rapid City, South Dakota, and to create health clinics for women in Nepal. He shared his amazing experience with ICT's McKenzie Allen-Charmley.
Well, Dr. Jacob Weasel, thank you so much for joining us today to talk all things Everest. You are the first Native American to summit the peak. Tell us, how did that achievement make you feel?
Yeah, I when I came off the mountain, I've gotten that question a couple of times, and honestly, the strongest feeling that I have is just one of gratitude. So grateful, not just for having been able to summit and come down safely, but to represent my people, to be gifted with the eagle feather, which I was able to take up to the top of the world and leave there as a symbol, not just of Lakota people, but all Indigenous people. And grateful for having, yeah, had the opportunity to go and be the first Native American to summit the mountain, and hopefully use that as an opportunity to inspire younger generations and young Native kids and show them that they are equally capable as anybody else to achieve whatever they want in life. Yeah, I mean, coming down just full of joy, and full of gratitude.
You mentioned that you had brought an eagle feather with you on your journey. What is the significance behind that?
Yeah, well, and so for obviously for a lot of Native cultures, eagle feathers are sacred, and I've had the opportunity of developing a relationship with several elders in the community and medicine men, and I was approached by a guy named Rick Two Dogs, who's a well-respected member of our community, and he's a medicine man, been practicing for nearly 50 years or so on Pine Ridge Reservation, and he had basically asked me if I would be willing to take an eagle feather that was blessed in ceremony to the top of Everest. And when we sat down to have lunch, and he gifted me with that feather, he basically said, this feather is representative, and it's a symbol of our people. And for everything that we have suffered, the injustices, the atrocities, the subjugation that we as a people have suffered over the past 3 centuries, and how that has almost broken the spirit of the people, he asked me to take that feather to the top of the world as a symbol of raising the spirit of our people above all that has happened to us. And so, ultimately, I was privileged and honored to be able to do so. And I had the feather attached to my pack all the way from Namche Bazaar when we landed there by helicopter, through the Everest trek to base camp and up the mountain to the top of the world. And to this very day, it sits there higher than anything else on the planet. And so it was a real privilege and an honor for me to be able to do that in representing our people.
You've summited many other monumental peaks, but I was hoping you could share with us how exactly you prepared for Everest and your decision process behind that.
Yeah, well, I mean, the decision process, for me, I never had any kind of aspiration to climb Everest, knowing the risk involved. And I have 3 children, and they're all teenage years, and yeah, there's quite a bit of risk there. But as I got into mountaineering, I began to look into, I came across an article about the first Black man to summit in 2003 and the first Black woman to summit in 2006, and was inspired by their stories. And so as I came across these articles, I was intrigued to find out who the first Native American was to summit. And for about a year and a half, I Google searched everything that I could, and we even had help with the marketing team at the hospital where I work try and look into it, and we couldn't come across anything. So I had a conversation with my wife, and I just said somebody should be the first, just to show that it can be done and that dreams can come true. And if you work hard and you persevere and you're unwilling to let anybody dissuade you from your goals, you can accomplish amazing things in life. And so that's kind of what the inspiration was for me. It was never, and I sat down with my children. I just said, it's not about me climbing this mountain. It's about using this as an opportunity to show that whatever it is you want in life, if you work hard and you have perseverance and grit and a will to achieve something great, that it can actually happen. And wanting to inspire other people to follow their dreams as well. And so, in terms of the preparation, you're right. It's unlike most other mountains. It is extremely physically challenging, and the mental aspect of it is something that you really can't grasp until you're there on the mountain. And I came to that mountain feeling as though I was prepared and fit. And I will tell you that that first rotation up the mountain, when I'm trying to push up to 24,000 feet and I'm taking 5 steps and it takes me 20 seconds to catch my breath, I was humbled by that because it was something that I had never experienced before. But in terms of preparation, it's a lot of working out, spending time on a stair stepper, spending time in the gym. And so, in the 9 to 12 months leading up to the expedition, I spent upwards of 4 hours every day preparing physically for this. And a lot of it was putting on a heavy pack and stair stepping for 2 hours at a time, and then doing some lifting, mostly legs and core, and then just running up hills and all sorts of different things. At the end of the day, nothing is really a substitute for putting on a heavy pack and climbing up hills, because that's what you end up doing. So
I can only imagine climbing a mountain takes a strong mindset. Were there any key moments on your journey where you felt challenged?
yeah, so for people that don't know, you go up the mountain to acclimatize and get used to that altitude, and then you come back down the mountain and you rest. And after that first rotation, it was probably the first time in my life where I really was humbled and had some self-doubt as to whether or not I could do this or not. And I return to Everest and start on the summit push. And after I had come down to rest, I developed a mantra that I said to myself probably several thousand times, and it was 3 words. It was discipline, focus, and strength, and in those order, because strength is really the least important of those three when you're on the mountain climbing. And yeah, absolutely, there were times where I, in retrospect, had brushes with death. On the way from Camp 2 up to Camp 3, there is a steep face called the Lhotse face, and it's primarily ice. And any rock that gets dislodged from 2,000 feet above can work its way down, and it's going down the mountain at 50 to maybe 65 miles an hour. And I'm going up the mountain, and all of a sudden I hear rock, 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 and I look up, and it was a split second between me seeing the rock and it striking me in the chest. And I gathered myself, realized I hadn't broken any ribs, had probably bruised some ribs, but I was okay to move forward. So we move on from there. And it's not really until I come off the mountain that I'm contemplating this and thinking, if that rock was a foot higher and 4 inches to the right, it would be a different story. And I could have easily lost my life, whether it be that instance or, coming down off of the mountain after summiting. I got caught in 2 avalanches through what's called the Khumbu Icefall. Um, and, crouching behind a rock as up above me, a plume of ice and snow comes barreling down, and feeling the power of that coming down on you, and just hoping that you don't get hit by a rock and that the force of this avalanche doesn't sweep you into a crevasse. And going through that, it wasn't just the physical aspect, but you come away from that being just mentally and emotionally exhausted. So yeah, there were definitely challenging times on the mountain. But as much as there is, sadness and loss, and you experience and see things on the mountain that are difficult to see and to go through, it's it's kind of all overarched by an amazing beauty and this privilege and honor that you get to watch the sunrise from the top of the world.
You're a doctor, you've summited Everest. For anyone else who wants to achieve big like you, what advice would you give them?
So, yeah, I would say the first thing is believe in yourself, believe that you can do it. Find yourself a dream to latch onto, and then don't allow anything or anyone to dissuade you. And I came off the mountain and I made a note to myself, a note to other people. And part of that just said, never, ever, ever give up. And whatever it is that you want in life, run after it. And the best advice that I could give is to run from zero. So it's difficult to go from the couch to climbing Everest, but everybody can get off of the couch and walk around their neighborhood, and it starts there. And if you start with small things and accomplish those things, it will lead to bigger things if you allow yourself the opportunity to dream big dreams. And yeah, I think that as individuals, as human beings, we are far more capable than we give ourselves credit. I think that we are far stronger than we ever know. And if you allow yourself the opportunity to be put in a place to test your strength and to test your limits, I think most individuals would be surprised at what's inside of them that lies dormant, that they have no idea is actually there. And so for me, going to climb these mountains, and whether it's that or other areas in life, I think us realizing what we are capable of as human beings, and being able to push our limits and have a deep appreciation for our potential, is something that I've come to love, and hopefully something that I hope others will be inspired to pursue for themselves.
Well, Dr. Jacob Weasel, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For more information about fundraising efforts, you can visit wopulaproject.com.